Hello and welcome for the very first time to the 001 Radio Wrestlecast. Can I get a woo in chat, boys?
Woo!
Great job. As always, I am your host, Ryan, and I'm joined today by my lovely cohort of co-hosts, Ryan.
Hello, I'm also Ryan.
Max.
Hey, that's me.
And Brett.
Hello, I'm still here.
Yep. We've kept two of us, but the other two have been fired and replaced because they don't know anything about wrestling. And this is, as it always has been, a wrestling podcast. So,
Of course, from day one.
From day one. Today, we're going to be talking about AEW All Out, just like everyone else is, because it was very cool.
Yes.
It's awesome.
To lay out some ground rules about how this is going to work. We're going to go in order of chronologically the things that happened in the show, just to minimize the amount of chaos, which means we'll be talking about Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole at the end, but we don't want them to overshadow everything else, so they get to wait their turn. Which means we're going to just kick right into it. So, All Out, we had originally the Women's Casino Battle Royale for the buy-in. It was replaced by the 10-man tag because Andrade and Pac had travel issues.
Yes.
Which has happened more than once with Andrade now.
And Pac too.
And Pac, unfortunately, going back to All Out 20 or either 2019 or Double or Nothing, he was supposed to have a match with Hangman, and he couldn't end up making the show that time either. But that was because he was a champion and he couldn't lose. But so unfortunate.
Tidbit.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but
it's gonna make a killer Rampage match. So
exactly.
We got that killer Rampage hype for tonight, but I want to start out and see what is everyone's thoughts on the replacement match, 10-man tag with Hardy Family Office and Best Friends and Jurassic Express.
Who wants to go first? I guess.
I heard your lips smack first, so
alrighty. Like with most pre-show things, for the buy-in, I think it's always good to have a match like this that's a high intensity match. Not like high intensity, but it's a fun match. You got all the fan favorites on one side with Chuck Taylor, Orange Cassidy, not Trent Wheeler Yuta.
And Trent is still out with injury.
Still out with injury, and really just like how they've just put Wheeler Yuta in there and has been, just been there. It's been really good. I really hope that they do make a new shirt once he officially signs and they put him in with all of them.
Absolutely.
And then we got obviously Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus versus one of the funniest stables I think that they have, which is the Hardy Family Office, which is Matt Hardy and a bunch of tag teams. So that's Isaiah Cassidy, Mark Quinn, Private Party. You've got TH2. You got Angelico, Jack Evans. Well, we only have the Blade coming out right now.
Yeah.
And he was on the outside. But in terms of a pre-show match, it was a pre-show match. It was good. It got the crowd all excited. Really liked the one spot where they are all doing a submission on each other. I thought that was really funny. And then, Luchasaurus goes and breaks it up. I think it's really interesting that they're still having this Orange Cassidy and Matt Hardy feud continue after what I thought was a pretty decisive victory over them. But that at the end of the match, we'll talk about that and where it looks like it's going next. But I also really like the spot with Jungle Boy on the shoulders of Luchasaurus, and they were doing the little battle with Angelico and Jack Evans. Really makes you realize how tall Angelico actually is, which I didn't realize.
Absolutely. He looked pretty sizable next to Luchasaurus, which is impressive in AEW.
He's a very long boy.
Very long, very lanky, but that works for him because he's like such a big submission guy. But the good guys win in the end, and I thought it was a pretty good opener. Only thing I really have to say, and it makes sense that they have to, they really drove it home that hey, you should buy this show. like
It's
every 2 minutes.
This match was only about 10 minutes, I think, right? It was short for a 10-man tag.
It was not a long match at all, but it was just like they were really hammered at home, and it makes sense. This is their biggest show that they've ever had, so they really want to be like, "Hey, buy the show." But yeah, I thought it was a good match. What about you guys?
Yeah, I thought it was a good kickoff. I think the thing with me is I'm curious to know if this match was planned to happen at some point in the future, or if it was just really quickly put together. Because this really was like the one match on the card that felt like it had no stakes aside from like Paul White. This match felt like there wasn't really even though Hardy and Cassidy have been feuding for a little while, it didn't feel like this was really a continuation of that necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to how quickly this was put together, or if they were going to do this anyway to lead into the weird barbershop thing they're going for now.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing they did have a lead into something else at the end. So that's like whether they had it planned or not, like the match itself might not have fit in like too well with the chronology, but it was a pretty good start, and it has implications for the future. So I mean, for something impromptu, that's kind of like the best you can really ask for something like that. And in terms of pre-show matches, they've had some not so good ones before, and I think this one is like up there with the best that they've had in terms of like getting people to watch the show.
Best one. I was sorry to interrupt. I was going to say the best one being Riho and Serena Deeb, because that match should have been on the card.
It should have. Yeah. Have you?
I am curious as to like it feels pretty bad that they were also going to have the women's match in the buy-in to begin with.
Yeah,
that Casino Battle Royale felt like it belonged on the All Out roster of matches.
Because that's the thing; those things run long, and
which is partly why I was surprised this match was really short. That I assume that Casino Battle Royale would have run a similar amount of time in the buy-in.
Yeah,
it did feel a little bit short. Although I do think Orange Cassidy being at the buy-in, he's like one of the biggest draws for people that aren't even into wrestling. So good way to get people to tune in and see that they're selling the pay-per-view. It starts in an hour. So good.
Yep. And
start to that.
After the match, the Butcher returns. Butcher and the Blade. Big pop for me. And then they just started randomly targeting Orange Cassidy's hair for some reason.
His most iconic
short hair. Yeah, you could have gone for his like pants or his denim jacket, not his hair.
I feel like the sunglasses are the obvious one. Just like smash all the sunglasses or something.
Yeah, but he's got like pairs upon pairs of those in his pants.
You could have done a fun promo of them in like a sunglass storage locker or something, where Orange Cassidy has like 40 pairs of sunglasses and they're just smashing them. I feel like the hair route is not where I would have taken this.
So that leads me to believe, since it's so random to throw this onto Orange Cassidy of all people, Matt Hardy's losing his hair, isn't he?
Oh yeah,
I think so. Absolutely.
Like 100%, Matt Hardy is gonna get his head shaved.
Well, because they did the Hardy put out the like photoshopped Cassidy without hair, like Egg Cassidy thing on Twitter, and I looked at that. I'm like, he looks fine. Even if he loses, it's not going to be a big deal.
Yeah, it's because I was going to say, like, he just has such short hair to begin with. I feel like just Matt Hardy, he has pretty long hair, and him going completely bald is going to be pretty
interesting to see.
Yeah,
he could probably pull it off, but.
And then for some reason I thought this was really funny. You had all the faces come out. You got John Silver, you got 10, you got a bunch of other people come and save the day. And then they just like kind of sit around out there for like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So I also want to ask, did you guys watch the buy-in on one of the platforms that had the Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky promo at the end?
Yes.
I don't remember.
So I watched it on Fight, and Fight had it, but I know some platforms didn't include that promo for whatever reason of Like after that
Yeah.
match, I don't even know the name of the UFC dude who was up there.
There's Junior Garcia, I believe, was up there. Masvidal was up there. I forgot the other
Dan
guy.
Lambert's the guy who
Yeah,
talks, right?
Lambert's.
Yeah, Dan Lambert's the guy who is. Listen, like I liked his first appearance. He had a lot with like Lance because I knew he was a good talker since he previously has done other stuff in wrestling and not just MMA.
Yeah.
Probably most infamously being Bobby Lashley's manager near his like last time he was in Impact before Bobby Lashley ended up going to WWE. He did a really good job there. It's just weird, like the constant like bringing up like these like terms like millennials and boomers and cancel culture. I just feel like Dan Lambert can cut a much better promo about other things besides that. And then it feels like it's kind of, I think they're trying to like put him there to give legitimacy to Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky.
But he's also doing the whole like MMA over how wrestling isn't like a real sport thing as well at the same time. And I feel like Page and Scorpio are not the people to be there for that, especially when Scorpio. So I'm going back and watching like 2020 Dynamites and whatnot in order. And Scorpio cuts a whole bunch of promos about how like wrestling has been what he always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then seeing this after that is just like, well, feels like maybe the wrong person is there.
Yeah, that's the thing though, is I don't know who else you really could have put that in there who was a heel, and also I mean I guess like Daniel Garcia.
Maybe Hager if they wanted to pull Hager from Inner Circle stuff.
Yeah, but like they're already
I don't know if you can do that right now though.
Yeah, it's just they're already in other things, and you know, obviously they've shown time and time again now that they're really high on still Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. So you know,
I just want to see them
where
like
it goes.
Show up in a match and do something cool because it's been a while since we've really seen them have an impressive match.
So I did actually have this written down from when I first viewed it, and you know, I would say they were targeting Lance Archer, and he has a friend who also likes to do MMA. I wonder if this will lead to something. And well, we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, because Lance Archer is still wrapped up with the isn't he doing the Japan and Moxley feud for now?
Little bit,
kind of.
But that's not really like a long feud, so
yeah,
we'll see. All right, anything else about the buy-in that people want to talk about before we move on to the first match of the show? No? All right, great.
Max?
Dude, you got anything? Were you not there for the pre-show, Max? I forgot when you.
Yeah, that was the one that I missed. I was at work.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right, moving on to the proper pay-per-view. First match we get, Miro versus Eddie Kingston.
This was good. This is very good. I really enjoyed this match, and I didn't, because I don't know. Ryan B and I were talking about this beforehand about what like could possibly happen with Eddie in the future, and considering that he has or that there is a really big New York show coming up very soon.
Yeah.
It was like, well, Eddie's, you know, it would be nice if he had a title for when he came out at in his homeland, because he's really hot right now. I think even like my parents who didn't like him when he first came out are like definitely starting to like him more. And yeah, just the we'll get more into it, but the stuff they did during this match was super interesting and really good wrestling storytelling that you just don't see all the time.
I also think like the big draw with Eddie is he is not at all your standard wrestler.
Oh,
like, he doesn't look like a normal wrestler. He's got the vibe that just I don't even think there's an equivalent for him in WWE.
He's just a Popeye looking ass dude.
And he cuts great promos, and I feel like that's always where kind of unique characters like his tend to stumble is the promo ability. But Eddie is like one of the best promo cutters in AEW. So
And like not only that, it's like the story he's able to tell within the ring, like with just his moves that he did.
Absolutely.
Is like compared to everyone else is like incredible.
Yeah, a lot of attention to detail.
And yeah, Miro's such a good bad guy right now. Like especially considering what he was doing a year ago. My God.
I mean, I just got to give props to
incredible.
AEW for their heel work during this pay-per-view because Miro and MJF both really threw down with their heel abilities. So I'm glad to see that he is really pushing that in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how the Redeem These Nuts thing became like a big selling point for
a
this
shirt
match at the
immediately
start.
after he said it.
It's a great like one-line thing that has become more because of that.
Yep.
But yeah, very, very fun opening to the match.
Very, very good opener, I was gonna say. And like, yeah, Eddie's just so over with the crowd.
Oh, absolutely.
I did write down some small stuff for this. I really liked when Miro came out. Eddie never took his eyes off of Miro. Like, and you could see it. Like Bryce was trying to hold Eddie back when Miro was posing on the ropes, hold on the TNT title.
Yep.
And like I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. And this is a perfect style match between these two because a lot of Eddie Kingston's move sets and what he does comes from around is very inspired by promotion All Japan Pro Wrestling, pretty much in the 90s. I know I showed Brett and Max some matches like between Misawa, Kenta Kobashi, Akira Taue, and
yeah, I've
Kobashi,
seen it. I haven't seen much of them, but I've seen at least one Kenta match, which was very good.
Yeah. And then he was just a lot of Eddie's style and a lot of the way how he like dresses too in the ring is like inspired by that with like the colors and stuff. So like this was pretty much just an old school like All Japan match. So like Eddie was only using chops. He used a spinning back fist, a backdrop suplex, an elbow suicida, a DDT, and he attempted to do a splash on the outside. And that's the only moves that he did this entire match. And I thought this was one of the best matches on the card. Honestly, I like, and it made so much sense. All those things are targeting Miro's weak spot, which is his head and neck area.
Yeah, which Eddie had set up in the prior shows by doing promos entirely about that, calling his shots.
Yeah. And oh my God, Miro's chest looked brutal by the end of that match.
Yep. I mean, I gotta give huge props to Eddie selling for a lot of these hits because like he looks like he gets knocked out when Miro punches him. Like stuff. Eddie's one of those people that I think sells just enough to where it doesn't look goofy. Yeah, I think that's often the problem is people go a little bit too over the top when they're selling, but Eddie just like drops, which is very impressive, especially when you're selling someone as big as Miro. He's just like 90% muscle.
Yeah,
looks very, very good.
So, and then we get probably to the biggest spot of the match, which is in regards to the ring post being exposed, the turnbuckle being exposed. What were your guys' thoughts on that?
I completely forgot about the exposed turnbuckle midway through the match. I don't necessarily think it's the fault of the match, but it kind of, to me, felt like that spot came out of nowhere at the end, to where it just sort of happened, but I don't think that's a problem. I think it's just... It wasn't quite as called forward to, and they don't. I think AEW often likes to hide things with the camera work, to where like even during the table matches, they'll tend to hide the tables that have been set up and use angles that don't show them, so you're more surprised when the table spot happens. I think that was definitely something they were doing here.
Yeah, and I think that's a very New Japan thing. I know, like watching a lot of New Japan matches that go on for a really long time that have like a table come out. It's like, oh my God, that was taken out 25 minutes ago, and I completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
And so the match, the last stretch of the match being, the turnbuckle gets exposed. Bryce tries to put it back on. While doing so, Eddie hits the DDT, pins Miro for a very long time, but since Bryce is distracted with putting the pad back on the turnbuckle, he doesn't see it, and then the crowd gets hot. They start to chant like "you suck" or like "you effed up," which I don't think that was. I think that was a really good way to like give the fans a visual win for Eddie, and it gives Eddie another chance to challenge him. And like that's like just really good like ref work. I thought I was like, okay, he's more busy on that. You know,
that's another thing I gotta give this show props for is the refs. A lot of the time with AEW, I think AEW falls into the refs are really blind for most of the match or get distracted for so long and so obviously that they use it so often. It just starts to feel less special when it happens. Yeah. And you kind of eventually go like, well, what are the refs even doing? Because it is important that you have that like risk of disqualification existing. Yeah. But I think this spot didn't feel like that. It really felt like he was legitimately there, and also later spots in the match I think felt a lot better than some of the Dynamite spots have been, especially because Miro got that opportunity for the low blow and ending with that and whatnot. So
yeah, I do have to also say, is this the first time someone has gotten out of he calls it the game over now, right? The his submission. Is this the first time someone like has escaped from it, or did like so. Maybe Darby did for a little bit? I don't remember.
Maybe
this might have been the most obvious escape.
Yeah,
I think
so. It still. I think Eddie still got put over huge this match, even though it was a loss for him, and I do think he'll be challenging for the title again sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think this is definitely how you build up for a rematch feud. It's like looking through what WWE did with McIntyre and Lashley for a little while. It was just like over and over again, and there was no stakes to it all. And this really feels like a much better build up to that rematch.
Yeah. All right. Do you have any thoughts, Max?
I think you guys just about summarized every thought I had on the match. I mean, again, I was just getting home when this match was going on. I was more present for the later matches, but I also, just talking back on the referee a moment, I think Bryce was the absolute correct referee to put on this match.
For sure.
I think AEW does a good job of selecting which referee's personality meshes the best with which matches. And I think match chemistry has just as much to do with the refs and the wrestlers as much as it does the wrestlers themselves.
Absolutely.
Bryce has been in a lot of rough and tough matches. And these two opponents definitely fall into his repertoire of range of things that he's overseen before. And he acted out the part really well. I don't know. I like Bryce in this kind of role. Hats off to Remsburg, I guess.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. Moving on to our next major match, we got Jon Moxley and Satoshi Kojima come into the ring. Now, I don't know about you guys. Kojima is, I think, one of the New Japan and Japanese wrestling stars that I know the least about. I think just because he's a lot older than when I started watching wrestling. So I think you guys might have more opinions on him particularly, but I thought he had a great showing here.
Boy, do I. Dude, Kojima's awesome. He always has been. Going back from like the 2000s, he kind of got like a bad deal in New Japan. Went to All Japan, made a name for himself there. While the All Japan Triple Crown champion, which is their highest accolade there, went ahead and he won the New Japan title off of his friend and rival Tenzan. In a match that he kind of wasn't supposed to win. It was going to be a 60-minute time limit draw, but Tenzan legitimately could not get up during the last 10 seconds of the match.
Oh, man.
And Kojima ended up winning both. It was kind of funny because he didn't really know what to do with the title. The man just throws it down in the ring. And like this is, again, early 2000s, so you have Young Lion, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Hiroshi Tanahashi like chase him out of the ring. It's so funny. Dude's awesome. They went over his accolades perfectly. Excalibur covered everything he's done. Like he's a G1, he's won the G1, he's won the All Japan Champions Carnival, which are round robin tournaments that last for like 30 days. He's the only guy who has been the All Japan, NWA, and IWGP champion. They just put him over so much to the crowd. And I was surprised because, again, I would have the same assumption as Ryan that a lot of people would not really know who Kojima is, considering
he got a pop.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
a loud pop.
They knew most of his stuff too that he was doing in the ring. They like reacted to it and everything, and like this, which is surprising because he's often known as one of the New Japan dads. So like
yeah, I also got to give it a special call out. His ring gear looked really good, especially his entrance coat and everything. This is so striking comparatively that I think it really gets people excited for him.
His song is really cool too, and but just like I was surprised to see how over he was, and then as usual, Mox comes out. He's always over, wearing a GCW hoodie, which it's a nice touch considering he won their belt off of Matt Cardona the night before. And then we just get into the match. What were your guys' thoughts on the match?
I did not expect to like this match as much as I did, but I actually think this wound up being one of my most enjoyable matches of the show, just because it was short and sweet, but it looked really good the entire time.
Oh yeah.
And Kojima just I think seeing the Japanese style of wrestling, especially because Moxley is used to that style as well, really entertaining to see it in AEW, and especially because WWE recently has been putting on a lot of matches that are just slugfests, and this is very different than that, and I think that was really enjoyable.
Yeah, this felt like it felt like a shorter New Japan match, because Mox has a slightly different style of wrestling that he shows off when he's going against New Japan guys, and it really showed in this match. And they just this run that Mox is doing is just so perfect, and I really hope that they just keep it going as long as they possibly can, because just getting more of these New Japan guys over to where they'll be more popular to like American audiences and people, again, like my parents that would not know or care about them otherwise. That's basically what I'm saying is Shingo when. It has to happen.
The Forbidden Door is just, I think, one of the best things we have in wrestling right now. So
yes.
I love to see all these people that, even though I don't know them super well, like Minoru Suzuki made an impression when he entered after that match, and I think Kojima did the exact same when he entered. That just really gets you excited to see what their styles are going to be like. And I do think a few particular spots that stood out to me was the middle, where Kojima suddenly counters Paradigm Shift, and they go into this very quick and snappy counter fest for a few seconds, was really impressive, and I love to see that.
I love when they do that.
Classic. That gave me the shades of the Takagi and Osprey match.
Yeah,
that did the same thing for a little while, which was really good.
Some other stuff that I have written down here. Mox's elbow has been a thing that has always been a problem with him. He's previously had MRSA there and has had a lot of operations on there as well. I think MRSA was more of his tricep, but it did affect his elbow at some points. And that thing got busted open. You could see just the blood coming out of it, and a lot of the time, if it's someone's elbow, I don't think twice about it. It's ooh, that hurts. But with him, it's I really hope he's careful, because I don't want him to lose time again because of how bad his ailments have been.
And how it's been mistreated before multiple times.
Yeah. So. They did an actual brainbuster here, which is surprising, because this is a super just stupid thing, because I've watched so much wrestling. In the US, a brainbuster is a lot of the times considered when you pick someone up and then you drop them down on their head, kind of like a vertical DDT.
Yeah.
In New Japan, they do it where it's just kind of a vertical suplex. They call that a brainbuster. But they also have the one that's in the US, they call it a sheer drop brainbuster. That's Ishii's finisher. Again, they just drop them plain on their head like that. And I was surprised that they did a North American brainbuster here instead of the one Kojima would be more used to. Also, another thing is, I don't know how much, I know I've mentioned this to Brett before. I don't know if everyone has picked up on it, though. Mox has been doing a different paradigm shift on the New Japan guys. He does it more so as a suplex instead of instead of a DDT. He did it tonight, and he did it on the match he had against Suzuki on Dynamite.
And it looks really good. So
It does.
it looks smooth. I've been noticing that because I knew he kind of did like a little bit something different too when he was first doing the New Japan stuff. When he left WWE and was in both AEW and New Japan, I don't remember seeing it like that. I thought that was pretty interesting.
I wonder if maybe he just wants to move towards that and make it a little, because it looks a little bit more dramatic, I think, than the normal paradigm shift.
Mm-hmm. My only concern that I had with this match, and wasn't with the match itself. I think stylistically, if you looking at the fabric between both matches, they are different. But if you have someone coming into the first time watching this AEW All Out, what is this? I think the opening match with Eddie and Miro and this match were both kind of the same, not with how they wrestled it, but it was the same sort of style. I think it would have benefited it a lot more if this match was somewhere else on the card, but I don't know where.
I honestly, I agree with you. I almost think I would swap this with the Punk and Darby match. Because I think that might work better as a cooldown period before the title match. And honestly, just throw Paul White off the card. As much as it's fun to see Big Show, but that match just felt weird.
Were you gonna say something, Max?
I was just thinking. I don't know that I agree with switching it with the Punk match, but maybe
I'm just thinking of what else would I switch it with?
Yeah, fair enough. I think. Yeah, now that you pose it that way, what would you switch it with? I think it was good use as a building up to CM Punk, building up the pops bigger and better until we finally got the payoff and then cool off after that. But
the only other thing I could think of would be maybe switching it with the women's casino battle royale. But I don't know. It's a weird thing.
I think they're in an odd spot because the Eddie Miro match is a title match that didn't really feel like a title match because Miro is such a force right now that when you go up against him, it's almost like the Kenny matches where you don't expect a title change and you go in kind of knowing it's not going to happen. At least with this match specifically, because Eddie didn't have enough build up to make it look like he was going to win, even though he put on a really good show. So it just felt like that opener that you usually AEW likes to have, that main event style opener and then the main event to end. But you can't put the Lucha Bros at the opener here because that match is too hyped. Yeah. That was too good of a match to open with. So I think, but it's hard to say take Miro off of the opener because it is a title match, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you could have put Punk and Darby as the opener to get them out of the way.
I think that's the same thing with Max said. I feel like if you did that, they would have lost all their energy.
Yeah. I do wonder if maybe that's why Pac and Andrade were on the card. It could have been another good come down from that. But then again, the Women's Casino Battle Royale also should have been on this card. And if you just take out the Paul White match, put that somewhere else, and then have Pac and Andrade there, there's not enough time. So.
Yeah. It's a weird situation. That's the thing is it's not necessarily a criticism, but it's just a weird thing. And I don't really know what they could have done differently. So
there were a lot of matches on this card, especially. Yeah. So I think it was a lot of shorter matches at the start, kind of leading people in. Yeah, it could have helped to start off with more of a bang. I think maybe it's hard to recommend putting Miro is a WWE returner for people that are watching and haven't seen AEW before and want to see someone they're familiar with. So maybe that's partly why you keep him as the opener, is Miro is a draw for people that don't watch a lot of AEW but maybe watch WWE.
Yeah.
Very good match.
So anyways, after the match,
yes,
Moxley's posing.
Hell yeah.
All of a sudden, music stops. And then all of a sudden, you start to hear a familiar song, and then all of a sudden,
song.
The commentary is is it who I think it is? They're really putting over the suspense, and all of a sudden you see him coming out the left-hand side.
Dude,
Just,
I loved how much of a pop this got.
I jumped
Dude.
out of my seat, like actually.
I was screaming.
Yeah.
I could not believe that he showed up. Minoru Suzuki, just wrestling legend, crazy man, insane
Murder
man.
Grandpa.
Yeah, he has murder on his mind constantly. This especially hearing all the crowd chant Kaze Nina Ray was so cool. And again, like the crowd knew him. The crowd reacted to everything that he did. And when it came to the forearm trades and like the selling that they did, like both of them not going down, and then he gets the rear naked choke, and then he gets the Gotch style pile driver, and all the crowd is just going crazy. And yeah, that was just so awesome to see right after that match. And I do have written down. I wrote down some commentary lines that I liked, and JR said I had breakfast with him one time, and when I did, I was too afraid to chew. So I don't know what.
Oh, JR.
Dude, sometimes when JR hits, he really does hit.
Even if it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, that's a great line, though. Yeah, and I also think Suzuki, especially, his look is so unique that even if you don't know who he is, you see that man, you're going to go, oh, wow, this is probably someone I need to care about.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. And especially Suzuki, for people that don't know, is 53. He is an old dog who still looks way younger than that. But
and he fights like it too.
Yeah, it was very, very fun to see someone like that come up. Especially the audience singing Kaze Ninare at the end blew my mind.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was not ready for that. So yeah, it was very impressive. Really, really cool moment.
I know. I did play this scene back for Max because this is around the time he just started to get settled in, and yeah, I know you really liked it too, Max.
Oh God, that's so. I thought it was gonna take me the whole night to lose my voice, but right after you played me that clip, I was done. I could hardly speak the rest of the night. It was crazy. I'm so elated that they brought back our guy from Japan. I
also
mean, I know
love
we
he
have
just walks
we have
with
a
that
list
smile.
of guys from Japan. We have our Stone Pitbull, and we have Hiromu, and we have so many others, but just the potential behind this feud is enormous. I can't wait for it.
This is why I love the Forbidden Door too, because it's making me really want to go watch more Japanese wrestling, because seeing these guys here has been very impressive. And I think that's the benefit of it, is it gets people that love the Japanese style interested in AEW, and it gets people that don't know it interested in the Japanese style of stuff. So very fun to see. All right. Anything else about Suzuki and Mox? Nope.
Not right now.
Great. Moving on to our AEW Women's World Championship. We got Britt Baker with Hayter and Reba on the sidelines against Chris Statlander with Orange Cassidy. Immediate thoughts on this?
I thought it was a pretty good match. I think. Oh, you can go first, Brett.
I'm going to say a little bit of what I know, probably what you're going to say. You can elaborate on it further because you know better words than I do. I think I have always been a very big Chris Statlander fan. I love her stupid alien gimmick is like my favorite thing.
I'm with you there, Brett.
And I gotta be honest, she completely, in terms of wrestling, she kicked Britt Baker's ass in this match, but it was not her time to win, so I totally understand. Especially with like the moves that she started taking at the end. It makes sense for Britt to have kept it. But something that I really want to focus on while I'm talking about it is I think one of my like biggest moments of the night was when she was on the outside and the count was starting to get really, really high, and it was like she's like really far away from the ring. I don't know if she's going to get back in. And then Orange like took off the glasses. Get up, go, go, go! And I was like, oh my god!
Is that the first
he's
time
showing
Cassidy
emotion.
has yelled in AEW?
I think so.
I think it has.
I like that. That was another moment where I like just like totally hands on the forehead, just screaming like, "Oh!" That it was so.
You can hear the
cool.
audience pops at the exact same time too,
Yeah.
because you can hear that in the front rows, especially. So that was a really, really cool moment.
And it's such good storytelling on both like on just everyone's part, because Orange and Statlander have known each other in the business for such a long time. They've had so many matches with and like against each other in the indies that are really fun to watch. And just him, I just really can't fathom that this guy probably got paid like close to Kenny Jericho levels when he first showed up in AEW for doing nothing. And he just immediately got over and immediately became one of the biggest draws just to see what sort of nothing he would do next. And it just like it took till now for him to really show that yes, he actually wants someone else to win and is putting effort into helping them. Oh my god, it was so good.
Yeah, definitely. And I do definitely agree with you that Statlander here, I think, looks a lot better than Britt does. Not to say that Britt looks bad necessarily, because I do think Britt looks better here than she did at the Double or Nothing title match where she won.
Yeah.
Which is odd to say.
Because I was going to say, like, nothing against Britt. I think Britt is one of the best characters that they have. I think she's one of the best wrestlers that they have on their roster. But I think a lot of people go in to see what Britt will say, what Britt will do. Yeah. I think she's still getting there in the ring. And that's not a knock against her. You know, she's really good at what she's doing right now.
Because I think everybody has absolute confidence that she will get there. Is the big thing.
Yes.
But like, you know, like again, like comparing from where she was even a year ago to now, like it's incredible how much she's gotten better. But like, you know, I think she's still going to be getting there, and she's still going to be getting better. Because like, I think like, you know, put her up against someone like Chris. If you put her up against someone, you know, like that, I think she'll do really, really, really good against, you know, because she's able to like use her character. She's able to do what she does well, which, like, you know, she focused a lot on those curb stomps, which looked really good. She did, you know, a lot of focusing, getting like the arm and the head like submissions on there to focus to get into the lockjaw. She did that really good. And then she did, you know, the Panama Sunrise or the Pittsburgh Sunrise, whatever they called it, the, you know, wink wink nudge nudge thing that they did for Adam Cole, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, you know, in terms of a match, I thought it was a really good match. You know, I thought this was one of Britt's best matches that she's had as the champion.
Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100% agree with that.
Yeah, you know, I thought it was, again, just if we're going purely based off of moves and like what they were doing, Chris just kind of beat her ass. just yeah. But you know, it wasn't her time. Britt's gonna be champion for a bit longer, I feel, and excited to see where it goes next. Any other thoughts, guys?
I think you got a lot of it. Go ahead, Max.
Well, I just got my eye on Jamie Hayter. I think when she becomes a more credible threat in AEW, she could make a good opponent for Britt Baker. I mean, for anybody for that matter.
Yeah.
But when they inevitably turn against each other, I'm gonna keep my eye out for that conflict. I think she could be good.
No, I agree with you. I think Hayter would be a really good match, and I think as of right now, I think another one a lot of the people are like clamoring for again is Thunder Rosa.
Yes,
again.
please.
Yep. Oddly enough, I really want to see Hayter and Cheetah. I feel like that would be a very fun match.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else about this women's title match?
Not really, no.
No? All right. Moving on to the big boy of the evening. We got the Lucha Bros versus the Young Bucks for the tag titles in a steel cage match. I feel like for everyone, this is probably a highlight, at least in ring, of the night.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
This was bonkers match. We did have some fun entrances as well.
Yes.
Of the Lucha Bros with I forget the artist that was there, but they had a very well done in terms of their music with dancers and crazy headgear and whatnot. That looked really good.
Yeah, and then the Bucks came out looking as
Like the
beautiful
Bucks.
as they always do. Nick Jackson dyed his beard to look like Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Truly horrible.
With the white and the black or whatever, but it's like a yellow and a brown. And just, they're really trying to look like the most vile human beings here.
I just
more
loved
puzzling
how
facial hair.
awful that looked, and you could hear like the audience get upset
Yeah.
when he walked out looking like that. I don't know, but yeah, the Lucha Bros entrance I think was really, really great. The only kind of gripe I'd have with that entrance is at the start, the build up to it was a little bit weird. Of like, it started very slowly, and it just felt like that opening segment of it was a little long.
Yeah.
But especially once the bros themselves get on stage, it looked very good. All right,
I don't know where to begin with this match.
it's hard.
It's hard because it's hard to, like, you know, not only it's one of our first times trying to do this, but it's like you have two tag teams in there who literally just do all the moves that they can, and like not a knock against them, but they looked really cool, and you know it was engaging too, because like you did say they were mainly known for like more of their in-ring stuff, but I do think there was a pretty interesting story that they were telling here.
Well, absolutely, they did a really good job of keeping these two tag teams apart from each other for like 2 years to build to this.
Yeah, because like that's the thing, is they haven't gone to this match in a very long time, and it's like, you know, they have a story between each other, and you know they're both teams of brothers, and it's just you know, there's a lot of really cool moments and spots in here. You know, again, this is all going to be out of order because I don't really remember it. Like they launched Ray Phoenix into that cage like a million times. I feel
He got launched early on, and then it kept happening the entire match.
Yeah, and just let's see what else we got. The spot where they're pulling at the masks, and they really got Penta's mask like pretty much off. It was really. What were you gonna say, Max?
They got it ripped, didn't they?
Yeah, like incredibly so. But it was so weird how it worked because he was already bleeding, and it was like the
it's
blood
such a
was
cool visual.
The blood was covering his face, so you still really couldn't make out his like facial features. I thought that was like
Penta and Phoenix, because Phoenix's masks got like ripped in half at the end of the match.
Yeah.
It looked the crimson mask under their actual masks was very impressive.
I thought and you know, there's just so many cool spots. You know, when they got the you know, brand name shoe. I don't know what it is. It's an expensive shoe with all the thumbtacks in it, and they were using that. You know, it was just a perfect encapsulation of what like the Bucks are trying to do right now. And props on Brandon Cutler throwing that thing in there. I have no clue
that
how
was
he did that
good
perfectly.
throw.
And Matt almost caught it.
I know.
So close.
They must have practiced that so much, because can you imagine if you threw it and it hit the side and didn't go in?
Yeah,
that would kind of have ruined it a little bit. That would just be like funny and stupid. Now they got to scramble to get it in. Like, oh, I guess like shove it through the door or something.
Yeah.
But you can't really do that because it's a cage.
I mean, to be fair, that'd be in line with Brandon Cutler.
Yeah, I feel like they still could have made that work, but Cutler getting it in on the first throw was really impressive. Especially because the shoe was set up on BTE as well. They talked about it beforehand and were like, Cutler, we're going to have this black bag. You need to throw it to me if things go really bad. Which I thought was a nice little nod towards that.
Yeah. I also think you know,
Matt Jackson going headfirst into turnbuckles like 4 or 5 times as well.
Yeah.
Also happened. That was very impressive.
I think like the thing though that really got me, and which was like really like is surprising, and such like when people think like the detractors like, oh, it's just all spots and nothing else. So they hit the finish on Penta after they hit him with the shoe, right? So they did I don't remember his the Meltzer driver and more bang for your buck. They hit one of their finish. It was the BT trigger. It was the BT
trigger.
They hit it on Penta, and you could see Phoenix in the background, and like it's just like he's probably gonna like interrupt it. At least that's I was thinking, and like I know he did. But the reaction it got out of me and the reaction it got out of the crowd was insane. Like that was one of the biggest pops of the night was just Phoenix interrupting that pin. Like the crowd was on their feet going insane.
That was close as well.
Yeah.
It was one of the closest, like legitimate, because they did it close enough to where it looked like it was almost a perfect 2.9, but it was clearly that the ref wasn't slow counting, which I think often happens with these spots.
How just to kind of talk about it being a cage match, how cool is the AEW cage? And just like, because it's not cutting off the actual the ring, you know what I mean? It's going around it. So like they can work spots over there, like when they throw them into the cage and they fall between the cage and the ring and they're trapped in between.
Catch them between the apron.
And we're they both did package pile drivers on the apron. And that was just, there's just, I feel like with that cage, you can do some pretty cool stuff that, would be pretty inhibiting. I feel like it would be hard to work with.
But I also love that the cage really allows you to go crazy with having both tag members and at the same time all the time.
Yes.
Which is something that AEW likes to do even when there isn't a cage, but with the cage there, it makes a lot more sense. And I think it looks really, really impressive when they can pull off those moves on the apron and whatnot. Especially with Nick and Matt Jackson have such perfect timing on getting things together that it really looks great when they do just like kicks from the side and time together. And
there was one moment. I think it was after they both did the pile drivers on the apron when they were looking at each other. I think they like everyone all at once went into like some like crazy submission pile on like the ropes and the cage on the corner at the same time, and it was like just watching it like it was just so like claustrophobic. Like this like these there's blood everywhere. These people are just like mushed against this one corner of this metal cage, and it's like I don't know how AEW and the Young Bucks specifically keep doing this, where they just like keep one-upping themselves with like just the greatest tag matches, and they keep doing it. Like you think, oh, this is truly the pinnacle of tag matches. There can't be a better one. And then what do you know? The next pay-per-view comes around, and somehow they make it work. It's just insane to me.
Yeah, this entire match is super impressive, and like I don't know about you guys, but the sinking feeling I got when they showed the shoe with the thumbtacks in it was just because like they did a super good job of building up this cage as a way to prevent interference.
Yes.
And then seeing that shoe get thrown in and then put on, and there's nothing they can do about it because it's legal at that point.
Yeah.
I think builds that narrative really well.
I think just overall match was really, really cool, and the spot where they're all like trading like super kicks and like a diamond or whatever, that was really cool. And then just the climax of the match, you can say, oh, it doesn't make sense, why didn't why did he do this after they did a top rope Canadian Destroyer, which looked brutal, like Matt's head bounced. I think in any other normal circumstance that could have been the finish of the match.
Well, my dad was watching this with me, and he doesn't watch wrestling all that often, but he looked at that and was like, that man looks like he just died.
Yeah. They did a slow-mo too, and his like the top of his head really did just smash into.
And you can tell he's fine because like he gets up a minute later and is doing all his normal Jackson stuff. But man, that looked brutal.
Looked like he died on that. But it's a cage match. You have some of the best high flyers there.
You gotta have someone jump off the cage.
You gotta have someone, and I'm glad that they kept it simple. I thought they were gonna do something like as weird.
I'm glad it wasn't like a crazy moonsault or something.
Moonsault, or like they didn't do a Canadian Destroyer off the top. It was just a flying crossbody, and that's all it had to be. And then they went right into the fear factor after that, and they won. What a good match!
It was just super solid. It felt like the right time too. Where I think it's rare when you get a match that feels like it's at the perfect time for a title change to happen, and then has so much potential, because I totally could have seen them keeping the title on the Bucks for longer. So I think this is one of those few matches that actually had some suspense as to who was going to take it home.
Dude, I think it was the right time because like I like the Bucks, but like I don't think they could have gone much longer. The only other thing I was thinking of is if they were going to win, then they should probably drop it to Proud and Powerful at the New York show. That's like what was going through my head. Like, but then as soon as I saw like Penta and Phoenix, and no disrespect, we didn't mention that Alex Aberrante is the best hype man in the business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just in his beautiful red suit.
That red suit is so good.
Yeah. But like, it was the right time. Just
and great crowd, great environment too.
Yeah.
I think it was the crowd was ready for this match as well as all the later reveals, and so I think there was a lot of energy saved specifically for this.
Yeah.
So it seemed great when it was happening. All right. Any other thoughts on Lucha Bros and Young Bucks?
Yeah. So, listen, this was easily the match I was the most emotionally involved in all night. Penta is one of my favorite wrestlers in the business. I own one of his masks. It's one of the only nice things that I own. And I like his career. I like his legacy. I got a lot of love for the guy. And I must confess, at the end, when he embraced his family and they hopped over the ring and they embraced their bloodied father, bloodied husband, that almost shed a tear. That almost got me.
Because that was real. Like, that's not wrestling work. That is his family legitimately concerned.
Yeah, they're all
their
crying.
Husband father is bleeding badly from his face.
One daughter looked scared.
Yeah.
It's just a reminder that these are real people who are putting their life and health and well-being on the line.
It's like they try to be as safe as possible, but even when you're trying to be safe, like there's accidents that happen, especially when you involve things like a shoe with thumbtacks.
In a cage.
I'm just imagining like the skill that both the brothers and the Young Bucks have to make a match like this happen with no issues.
Yeah,
is bonkers. Like, I don't think there are two other tag teams that could have done this. Anything else, Max?
I hope that whatever this reign ends with is either a match with Proud and Powerful that equals this one, or a match with another tag team that equals this one, because I don't know how they're going to outdo or match the intensity of this matchup, but I got high expectations for this title run. I want to see a lot out of it.
Because after this match, you can't have the Lucha Brothers lose in a regular way, right?
No, not at all. They put too much on the line to get here. They can't so easily be toppled off the top.
Yeah, and I think there's a legitimate chance that they want them to... I don't know if they're going to want them to be the longest reigning, but they're going to want them up there in days.
I'd agree.
For the clout, so I think we're going to get a decently lengthy reign from them. All right, everyone ready to talk about the Casino Battle Royale?
Oh boy, am I.
So, we got our 21-woman Casino Battle Royale for the AEW #1 contender championship spot thing.
Yes.
It's always it's a little confusing to me how the Casino Battle Royales technically work. They make you the #1 contender, but they're formatted in a way that seems like Money in the Bank. So you think it's like, oh, they cash in their chip or something, but no.
Yeah, like how does that work backstage like that? Like because like it's the Joker is always a surprise debuting person. Like how does that always happen? Like in terms of like because they're supposed to be in the certain like the clubs, the diamonds, the hearts of spade. Like come on, Tony. How come every single time there's a surprise debut and it happens to be the Joker?
That is always the one thing that bothers me about these Casino Battle Royales is they make the Jokers win too often. And
actually, they don't. You know, I hate to.
But I'll put it this way because so I'm someone who hasn't watched a ton of AEW, but most of their big casino battle royales that they put at the start of pay-per-views, they heavily advertise to other people. The major one that comes to mind is Brian Cage.
Well, that was for the ladder match. That was in a casino battle royale.
Yeah, it just feels the same way where it feels like there's less suspense, especially when there's the suspense of knowing who the person debuting is going to be.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anyone here doubted that the Joker was Ruby.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say on that, I feel like for surprise debuts, they don't win too often, because we look back, the only other time a Joker did win for a casino battle royale was the first one that they did, which was going back to the first one that they did at Double or Nothing 2019, where Adam Page won it when he was like the surprise, because he was the surprise because the match originally got pulled off the card. It was supposed to be him and Pac, but he got there instead, and yeah, he was the other one. But if we're going off of like the other ones, like All Out 2020, I think infamously, unfortunately, big love to him was Matt Sydal, and he ended up fucking up I said the F word.
You're fine.
No, you're good. You're good.
he ended up messing up his shooting star press, and they've been running that as an angle ever since. And then if we go to like Double or Nothing, this year, Leo Rush was the surprise, but Jungle Boy won. And then for the woman, Ruby won, and she was the surprise entrant. But for All Out 2019, where they had the woman was the one, Joker was Mercedes Martinez, and Nyla Rose ended up winning that one.
I mean,
so
I think it depends on the reputation of the person you're bringing in, because I think Mercedes Martinez and Ruby Riott are very different hype levels for general audiences. And I think like Brian Cage is the other good example, and Adam Page, people want them to win, right? So I don't think it's bad that they win. I just think it does make it seem like it's less important in a way.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's a huge problem, but yeah, Ruby Soho, I think great debut. Obviously, like her look is just so different from anything in AEW. Yeah. That she meshes really well with everyone else, but
yeah.
I do feel like this match was a little bit chaotic, which is the nature of casino battle royales.
I think my main talking points, I'm going to be throwing one of the talking points over to Max, because he was the one who pointed it out to me during the match, and then it was funny after he pointed it out what happened. I think they've been doing Hikaru Shida a bit dirty since she's lost the title. Not really focusing on her on the main shows, and she
has not appeared on a Dynamite since she lost the title.
She just kind of got dumped out pretty quickly too. I get here's the thing. I can kind of think of it as, okay, they want to cool her off right now, and then like when the time strikes, they put her back on. But still, like, she was the champion for a year. You could use her more. I really like Abaddon. I think Abaddon's a really cool looking wrestler, and unfortunately she did get eliminated pretty quickly. But
yeah, that was sad.
It's she's still really new. She's been having a lot of dark matches though, and I think she's like, especially with dark going to the taped format and Universal, I think they're going to be able to do a lot more of these like problems that we have, because they can focus a lot more on stories in a taped environment. Besides that, I think like the main story of the match was that Anna Jay, Tay Conti are here. They're feuding with Anna Jay and Penelope Ford.
Penelope
Ford.
And then I think, you got some cool people in here. Kiera Hogan, she's been on Dark for a bit, Sky Blue, and they're like being able to show them off and like in a big televised pay-per-view is cool.
Yeah, Emi Sakura too.
Yeah, Emi Sakura, she's been back in the US for a bit. This is the first time not on a Dark Elevation.
Because they did run like a small angle with her and Cheetah of talking about how Sakura like trained Cheetah and that there was bad blood there or something.
Mm-hmm.
Which didn't really lead to anything, but it was interesting. They mentioned
Yeah. Thunder Rose is still over. Nyla Rose and Jade Cargill were the ones who eliminated a bunch of people. Layla Hirsch got eliminated by Jade Cargill, and that's why they're going to be having a match later on, next Dynamite, I believe. And then Ruby Soho comes out, and I scream, and I'm glad that she's finally being recognized for for a crowd that would appreciate her and for everything that she's done. And you could see the emotion on her face when she was going out there, and it was just such a cool little moment. And yeah,
I love that she got her little like single spotlight at the end with Thunder Rosa. That's a great pair to put together to show off a new talent.
So let me go into my big two criticisms I have, and then one of them is going to be passing over to Max so he can talk about it. Riho comes out. This is the first time Riho has been appeared since Double or Nothing.
Who was also the women's champion formerly, so big person.
Yeah, first women's champion they ever had. Gets in there. She's working with Jamie Hayter. She goes through either the middle rope, I think, and she lays on the ringside, and you just see her kind of go off. And they said she got eliminated.
Yep,
you could see Jamie Hayter's like trying to wave it off, like no, like she didn't get eliminated, but the Riho just ended up unfortunately getting eliminated pretty quickly, and she did tweet about it actually, Wednesday. So she's
because I feel like those are always super fun spots in a battle royale where someone like gets thrown out through the middle rope and then they can have the fun re-entry. Right? So it feels like a missed opportunity.
Eddie Kingston actually did this with Lance Archer after All Out 2020. So I feel like maybe this, like, even though like Riho is going to be helping Ruby Soho and Chris Statlander on Rampage, maybe it's going to be leading to a Riho versus Ruby Riott thing. To see who actually deserves to face Britt Baker right now. I have trust that AEW can rebound that, but they kind of I don't know if it was just miscommunication or what, but unfortunate. Now, Max, because you were the one who pointed this out, what was your big takeaway for this casino battle royale?
Well, let me make like Obama and let me be clear. I love the battle royal. I love that format of an event. It's my favorite type of match. I love WWE's Royal Rumble, and I love the way they do these. But as a result of my affection for this match type, I become more critical of more minute aspects of it, and sometimes the less minute aspects of them. What I'm referring to is the amount of times they rehearsed a spot where somebody would get eliminated and the victor would gloat right near the edge of the ring, and they would be taunting and harassing whoever just got eliminated, and then they themselves would be thrown over the ropes. They did that maybe 6 times.
Because it happened at the start. Abaddon got Sky Blue out, but before that, Sky Blue was gloating on the edge. Then Abaddon was gloating on the edge, and then both of them got eliminated the same way.
Yep. They did it so many times. I don't understand why there's a need to repeat that spot that many times. I understand that there can be multiple, multiple arrogant, gloaty characters, but it was enough. When something is done so many times that it takes you out of the moment, that's when it's far past enough. I don't understand why there wasn't the foresight to see that this would happen, and they could have created different spots. I just don't get that. And once again, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the match very much. I thought it was great. I love this match type, but that just stood out to me like a sore thumb, and I have to pick on it. And I mentioned it in the show, and Ryan and Brett were like, "Yeah, right."
Because I was told you mentioned it, and then immediately after mentioning it, it happened again.
Yeah.
It
was almost like prophetic, because like that's when he was like bringing it up when we were watching it, like, "Oh yeah, you're right," and then it just happened again. It was like, okay, yeah, and like that's the thing is I feel like that they could have circumvented this by doing like it's a little bit different spots. Like, what if like two people are like throwing arms on the outside or stuff like that, and then you have like Nyla Rose or Jade Cargill, just someone go and push both of them off. You know, you don't got to do the gloating every
two
time.
Separate ones.
Yeah.
And then, it's like I honestly feel like the people that would fit most with are kind of Red Velvet and Jade Cargill. Both have characters that feel like they would gloat, but like they did it with Sky Blue and Abaddon.
Yeah.
Start, which I don't know. Sky Blue is local Chicago talent, so I don't know if that's part of her character or whatnot. But I don't know. It felt kind of cheap that that's how they take out the person that they've called it to fill in. So
now I think I have a good replacement idea for at least one of those spots. Considering how early it was, I don't know if it would have worked for Abaddon in this match, but for her type of character, yeah, maybe. If she eliminates somebody over the top rope, right, and she gloats, and then somebody goes for the elimination on her, and she ducks it and eliminates that person, how well would that put them over? You know?
yeah.
The fake and switch, bait and switch. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. There's tons of women in this match that are obviously like very, very good workers. So it just seems odd that they're repeating a spot that doesn't really fit their characters. And that it's just repeated so many times. And the camera always focuses on it the same way of them standing in the center.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely get that. Any other spots we want to talk about this match?
No, I just want to say I'm glad Ruby Soho won and is getting a focus put on her.
Absolutely.
She looks happy.
I also can't wait to see what Thunder Rosa is going to do, because I feel I don't think they're done with her title push yet.
Yeah.
So that'll be a fun match whenever that happens. All right, moving on. We have Jericho and MJF in a loser, or not loser leaves, but if Jericho loses, he has to stop wrestling in AEW and move full-time to commentary.
Thank God he doesn't have to go full-time on commentary.
I want to give props for them attempting to do the entrance that Jericho did with the guitar and trying to get the crowd to sing it. But I got to riff on the guitarist here, who I know is a good guitarist, but he was playing like a modified version of Jericho, not of Judas, not regular Judas, so the crowd can't match him.
Yeah.
To sing it, which felt like a miscommunication.
Then the audio balancing was completely off. He kept on like overdriving it and it sounded terrible.
Yeah. I think also like I don't know what his like sound situation was, if he had like monitors like in his ears or something, or what was like getting like what he was getting his sound from. But I feel like if he could like read the room, there was a huge delay between what he was playing and what the crowd was like hearing and singing back to.
I was gonna say, how cool would it have been is if the Titantrons, they put like Chris Jericho's head as the karaoke lyrics thing. I feel like that would have been incredible if they did that.
It's just to help it along.
Because this time it's not a stipulation. It's Jericho making fun of MJF, right? Yes. So make it as goofy as possible. And I feel like that could have worked wonders for this. Of just having it play to Jericho just looking at cocky as all hell and very confident in himself.
That and like it shows how important drums are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, my God.
Or like anything to keep a beat. I liked MJF's entrance. It got me for the classic Jericho entrance. I was like, oh, and I was like, It's probably MJF, and I was right. It was MJF.
MJF's entrances are always fun.
I don't know. It was an MJF and Chris Jericho match.
I thought this match meandered occasionally, but I really enjoyed it by the end of it.
I think I said it to someone. My earlier comment a few days before this pay-per-view happened was that really the MJF does like his best matches when it's like a big event or a pay-per-view, and I think like his other matches with Jericho I don't really think were anything too special, especially like you're going to say MJF is a more powerful opponent than Nick Gage. I don't know if I believe that, but I'll go with it for now, I guess.
Especially because Nick Gage was the first
thing
to show up. It felt a little out of order.
But I really enjoyed this match, and I think there was a lot of cool. It wasn't like super like fast paced, and I think that's just because Jericho is a. I mean, he's big.
I mean, I gotta give it
He's
to
old.
Jericho in this match. He looked way better in this match than in many of his recent matches.
He
I thought.
did, yeah.
Like he was pulling more moves off. He didn't look as winded.
Mhm.
He was moving a lot faster for most of it, which was very fun to see.
And I wonder if that is because, like, he wasn't doing like all those like crazy matches like every single week in a row for that like 5-week period. Like I can imagine that's even for like a pro like him, that's probably
absolutely, especially because there was a death match in there, right? Like
yeah, for sure. But I something I've really loved is like towards like middle endish of the match, like MJF was like, this truly is an opponent, and he does like the anime villain thing where it's like, you actually made me use 10% of my power or whatever. And he did like a high like risk maneuver like off the
he did
the rope and outside.
He did the Asai moonsault. Which,
I thought that was really cool.
I love that.
Yeah, because it was a pretty like cool like turn of events. He did the middle rope pile driver thing. He does I forgot what it's called, hot shot or whatever. He does that Heat Seeker. Yeah, he did that to Jericho. Jericho got out of the ring. Then he went for the side moonsault. But then this is where I started to get more into the match, because like before that I was like, yeah, it's just kind of it's Chris Jericho and MJF again. And then he hits the pop-up power bomb onto the ringside, and as soon as I saw MJF selling his back, I was like, all right, he's gonna win the match with the walls of Jericho, not the Judas effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I feel like the big thing to talk about here is that false finish.
Yes,
that happens.
To preface this, the reason why the referee was out there was because Wardlow was trying to come out, but then
super important to mention
out. Wardlow and Jake Hager were fighting out there, with Hager trying to stop Wardlow.
They set up the need for more referees.
There's like a referee out there to separate them. This caused the distraction with originally to have MJF hit Jericho with the bat, and then we like eventually it got to a point where Jericho was getting pinned by MJF. I forgot, like was it after he hit?
I think he hit the Judas effect on Jericho.
Yeah,
I think it was.
Yeah,
and then, I thought it was a pretty good Judas effect compared to what Jericho usually does.
Yeah,
it looked brutal.
And then MJF goes for the pin. He gets the 1, 2. You see Jericho's foot get put on the ropes, but Aubrey still counts 3 because she didn't see it. MJF is celebrating, and that's when.
And his music plays and everything. Like they fully act, and you can tell the crowd bought it for like a couple seconds. Sure. They went silent.
Yeah, that, and they're like, again, they're like, oh, you didn't see that. But then Paul Turner was out there, said, hey, reset the match, and then they ended up doing it. Jericho ended up putting the walls on him. MJF almost escaped. He tried to put the lion tamer on him, which is when he puts the knee behind the neck of the person, but he kind of flubbed it up, and then he decided to crank the walls in more, and that's when MJF gave up. So the crowd really loved it. The crowd loved that spot, and at that point I can't really like fault it, and because I really liked it too. But looking back on it, if Paul Turner was there, why didn't he also see the I guess because we didn't see Paul Turner, what he was like focused on. Maybe he also had his back turned trying to get Wardlow and Hager out of there. So maybe like he also didn't see the bat shot.
I mean, MJF was doing a pretty good job of hiding the bat too. He had it like wound up in his hand and his arm, and it looked like he was trying to hide it, not just wait for Aubrey to be distracted.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think that worked here because of the distractions going on outside the ring, and also MJF being careful with it and then throwing it out as soon as he used it for one thing, which I think worked well. Yeah, I would be. This is the kind of spot that I would be super worried about if they had not been extensive in setting up for it.
Yeah,
like this had a lot of setup to work. It needed to. The crowd needed to be into it, which they were. and it needed to look legitimate, and they had to go with the MJF sell. My only like real complaint is it seemed like MJF's music started a little too quickly after that first pin. Like it was instant, which is kind of where I went off. Like, okay, it's a spot that's happening, not an actual false finish. But yeah, that's my only like actual complaint about it. Is it just felt like they were a little trigger happy with MJF as soon as that happened. Could have given it like 2 more seconds of time to wait. Yeah, I definitely thought this was Chris Jericho's best match recently. Aside from maybe the Gage death match was a lot of fun, but I think storyline wise this was a lot better. It's always fun to see MJF playing up the heel work and getting very angry at the end of a match.
Yep.
And his look when he learns that he didn't win is one of the funniest things I've seen on a pay-per-view.
He starts like boss nassing his lips just
incredible.
Just freaking out.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Any other thoughts we got?
Not really.
I do want to mention at the end the Inner Circle all coming back on, because there had been people mentioning that the Inner Circle hasn't shown up a lot recently, because they've all kind of been doing singles things mostly and had their own stuff going on. So I think it is nice that they like showed them all together at the end to kind of revamp that they are still like a thing, and not just quietly fading. They all just got their own worries. So
ride or dies at the end.
Yep. I thought that was really fun. Then, unless there's any other thoughts on that match. All right.
Go to CM Punk.
Let's get to CM Punk and Darby in their CM Punk's first singles match in 7 years.
Yep, 7 years.
Yeah, I thought this match. I don't think there's as many individual spots that were quite as interesting as a lot of the other matches. But it was just a solid showing that CM Punk can still wrestle really well. He wasn't doing anything too crazy. It was a lot of fundamentals and kind of felt like beating Darby just because of experience, which I think is what they wanted this match to feel like. And it feels odd to say this match almost felt like the cooldown period for a little while.
Well, because it's interesting, because in terms of high intensity, you're not going to get that with CM Punk. You're going to get an intensity through the storytelling in the ring, not with the moves he does. And
which works really well with him.
Yeah, and the whole story was 2 things: A, that they were paying tribute to a Bret Hart versus 1-2-3 Kid match that they had on Raw in 1996, because CM Punk is a big Bret Hart guy, and they, a lot of stuff that they did in this match were direct callbacks to that, with how they did the spots and how they like reacted and like facial expressions, which was really, really, really cool. And I think it was a good pace for Punk to start going back at it. Like, not saying that he was, because I thought he looked great, but it was a lot of like headlocks. It was a lot of like, it felt like it worked because it felt like he was trying to slow Darby down, and as soon as he got an advantage, which was him throwing him into the turnbuckle, but Darby going between the things and hitting the ring post, which looked brutal.
That was so cool.
And like that's when it really started to pick up. CM Punk started to like hit like a knee in the corner, lariat, and just a lot of like, it was a lot of intense like moments there with like what he was doing, and like Darby was like selling everything perfectly. And it was like that's the thing, like I think Chris Jericho and MJF match, like, oh yeah, that's kind of like a slow methodical thing, but I think Punk and Darby Allin also like did it just kind of better.
Well, this is one of those matches where it felt like Punk was in control the entire time, and like getting more in control as the match went on, and as he's kind of reacquainting himself with the ring, which I think worked really well for the narrative that was going on. And like Punk's facial expressions during this match are incredible to watch. Where like he'll react to moves and whatnot, and you can see the entire time he doesn't look winded for a second.
Yeah,
he'll like look at the camera and kind of do like that smirk that he does, and then you can tell like, oh well, he's fine.
Just because of me picking up on so much stuff, you could really tell when they were calling spots in the ring. But that was just me. You could, just with the certain things that they did, certain holds, and you could say, oh yeah, CM Punk's talking right now to Darby, and Darby's talking.
It's also CM Punk and Darby are 2 wrestlers that don't have a way to hide it.
Yeah,
yeah, that's true.
And but yeah, it was. I thought this match was really good, and it was just again just different from everything else on the card, and that's what you get when you watch an AEW thing. You're gonna get like a slice of everything basically, and it's really cool. So going to the, I guess after that turnbuckle thing, the first big spot of the match would be CM Punk, gets Darby up into the GTS. He hits it, and Darby goes down onto the outside, which I thought was incredible because, it shows how brutal that move was. And it was like Darby lost control and like he couldn't catch himself because he was so close to the ropes. And then you could see like Punk trying to grab him because like, oh man, there goes my shot.
There's my pinfall.
Yeah, and then instead of going on the outside trying to like continue to beat him up, he just goes and he sits in a corner. I thought, wow, that's just incredible. That's really smart. Like he knows that like why bother going on the outside to continue to to like press the assault when he could just go and do that. Even though I'll bring this up, they did just do that spot again in the last match with Jericho and getting up at 9, going back into the ring. Darby did the same thing here, so maybe the Jericho and MJF match didn't need that.
Though
spot.
I do think the commentary played it off better in this match because they kind of acknowledged that it seemed like Darby was fine and was just resting.
Yeah,
they mentioned that it looked like Darby was intentionally taking that time on the outside to rejuvenate himself a bit.
Yeah, but then it goes into the like there's some more spots between there, but then like the last 3 minutes was like all the flurry. So Darby, does a suicide dive onto Punk on the outside. He then gets on the top rope, does a kind of like a leg drop almost onto him, just like spinning like senton onto him, and then Punk gets thrown back in the ring by Darby. Darby goes for the coffin drop, and of course, what better way to counter the coffin drop than just sitting up?
That's it.
Yeah, it's great.
And then
he smiled too.
Yep. And then it got to the last like flurry of counters and stuff. Punk goes to the GTS. Darby goes and he is able to counter. He kind of sort of catches it, wraps him up to go into I think the Last Supper, that cool little pinfall he does. But Punk is still able to get out. Darby gets on him, tries to do the flipping stunner, but Punk catches him, throws him over to the GTS, hits it, and that's the match.
Yeah. I also there is like one specific sequence of this that I think is really fun, because you don't see it a lot in AEW of the Punk with locked in Darby's handhold behind his back for like a full minute and a half or so, trying to work out of that. And I think that's you don't see that a lot in AEW, and I thought that was a really fun nod to like Punk's technicality and Darby's skill in trying to keep that locked in.
And like how over, like they were chanting the entire time for this match. It was crazy. Like the crowd was just so into it. And like that's the thing, like hometown crowd Chicago, you think they'd be all behind Punk, but no. Darby was also getting so many chants.
Both of these guys are great. Like these are two. This is your classic old timer with someone who's gonna be a star as long as they're in wrestling. A very very fun matchup, and got to give major props to Darby's paint as well. Like his tree body paint was so cool, especially how he's doing it like half his body instead of normal just face and neck. It was great.
Yeah. Any thoughts from you, Brett, or from you, Max?
I think just in general what CM Punk is doing with his character right now, like it's like the first thing that he did when he first showed up again, he immediately started putting other people over because he knew that no matter what I say, these people are going to be into it no matter what. So if I said this person's cool, then they're all going to agree because they think that I'm cool. And so immediately just like going at the end, like giving Darby like a handshake and Sting also, and then what he's doing now with immediately going after Hobbs, who's like a super like new guy, like another young talent. Like if he just keeps up with this, like that is just such a cool thing to do with your career. To just like AEW kind of just does that with all of the older guys that they bring in, where they're like either like mentors or they have really good matches against the younger talent to put them over when they lose or something. But I think Punk is the best example of that, where he's just like anything that he says, anyone he puts over, the crowd is just going to be 100% behind it.
Yeah.
Because I think he also knows how to pick him. Like he's not gonna, I don't want to I mean, maybe this is in public now, but I don't want to be too mean to Luther. But he wouldn't go after Luther and say, like those kind of things. He would. It's believable because it's Punk, basically.
Yeah. And I do think it's totally a situation where they can have him mostly putting people over, and then all you need to do to reignite the Punk fever is just put him in a dream match with like Bryan Danielson or Adam Cole or someone, and then everyone would be just as excited as when Punk came in because he's the kind of person that's going to keep that heat basically forever. So yeah, it's very exciting to have him here, and I think it's going to be great to see all these crazy matches he can put on with people. Like just imagining like 10 years ago, I think to the dot was when Christian, Punk, and Jericho were last in a ring together, and it's just very crazy to think that's happening again now. So yeah, fun match. Although Punk should definitely go back to the trunks. I don't think the tights worked as well for him.
I don't know.
They're growing on me.
Maybe if they were white and red and not blue and red.
Yeah, that's fair. Color scheme should change. I agree on that.
That baby blue next to the red stars looks very Captain America. Yeah. Only criticism of this match, I think. All right. Any last thoughts about that?
Yeah, one last thing. Kind of building off of what you and Brett were saying about Punk here. I don't think it's going to be his last match ever, because my prediction for his last match of his career is going to be against Bryan Danielson. I think that'll be the one he goes out on. But I think before CM Punk retires for good, and on his terms, he's going to take a step through that forbidden door.
Oh, absolutely.
One person he has mentioned time after time as being the very best in the world when he was retired was Will Ospreay.
Yeah,
I think that match is going to happen. They both won it. I'm looking forward to it. I expect it now.
Yep.
Yeah, I would love to see that because Will Ospreay is such a worker. And like him and Punk in the ring would be incredible.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on to QT Marshall getting squashed by Paul White.
So
this 3-minute match.
Big Show starts the match with charging for a corner V trigger, but Okada dodges, and then Big Show flips over Okada. Oh,
you're forgetting when Takagi came in.
and then all the New Japan people come and run out, and there's a big brawl. This this match for what it is was perfect. That the crowd needed a break between Punk and the Omega match.
Yeah, absolutely.
What can I say?
It's just weird.
Paul White,
a weird match on the card.
Definitely looks like Paul White. He played all the hits. He did the corner chops like 6 times because the crowd wanted it.
And I mean, it does look impressive when Paul White is throwing around Nick Camarado as if he's a doll, which is just very fun to watch for like 30 seconds.
He speared Aaron Solo, and he did technically put over Nick Camarado because he did the knockout punch, but like Nick Camarado didn't go down. So like if anything, they kind of build Nick Camarado there. But yeah, it's what you expect. QT gets his ass beaten, and then Paul White choke slams him, and he wins. And yeah.
It's 3 minutes.
He threw QT like 20 feet. Like
it was impressive.
It was like I was watching like Shadow of the Colossus gameplay or something, and like QT just got flung out from like the middle of the ring, like over the ropes and onto the outside.
Because there's also a bit where like they're on the edge, and then Paul White just like kicks, and QT goes flying out of the ring.
Yeah,
it's fun to see QT get beat up for 3 minutes, but yeah, this could not have been any longer. I think.
Yeah.
Because it was already starting to get old after 3 minutes, so they did a good job of keeping it short. But
yep.
All right. Any other thoughts about?
Yeah. Do you got any thoughts on that, Max?
My head was empty during this match, to be totally honest with you.
That's the point of it. So.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well,
that was the point of the match.
The big boy.
Let's go on to the main event.
All right,
yeah.
big boy main event. Kenny Omega coming in from North Carolina with Don Callis against Christian Cage. I would do the shout, but I'm in an apartment building. It's probably not a good idea. But
Another really good match. I liked how fast it started off too. Omega trying to do the V trigger.
And for
Christian
I want to
Cage.
give special shout out to this isn't a dream matchup, right? Christian, I don't think has the same amount of heat he used to, but man, he can work when he's in there with Kenny.
Mhm.
Outwork everyone. He means it when he says that.
Christian
I
is
think Christian deserves more heat than he has right now because he's absolutely great. But
he's so good right now. Again, another guy who's gone for 7 years came back this year, and he's just killing it. He's so good right now. And match starts off Omega, a little bit more dominant over Christian Cage. Eventually, Christian, gets some offense on there. He hits the Hurricane Rana off the top rope onto him, and then, I think before that, did Kenny go to the outside and then try to do that? The moonsault. Yeah,
Kenny did the moonsault off of a barricade. Played off failing it the first time pretty well. He does the whole can't always get it playing off the crowd, and I think it worked very well. As a nice recovery from a botch, and then manages to land it the second time.
He also, I think, before that too, because I have all my notes mixed up here. He threw a table on top of Christian, and then he did the
basically curb stomps it.
Yeah, double foot stomp onto it. Looked brutal.
It was super sick.
It was a great table break too.
Christian gets back in the ring. Christian starts to see some life again. Starts throwing all the hits. He does the Hurricane Run off the top.
Important note, they had set up a table right after that table stomp early on and put it there.
Yes. But Kenny starts to get a little bit more heat again. Hits the suplex onto the knee. And again, Christian's just selling so good here. Omega has him on the apron. Looks like he's going to do a one-wing angel through the table, but Christian gets him off. Christian goes and he spears him off the apron through the table. And that looked brutal. And you could see Christian immediately grabbing his ribs.
It definitely looked like that hurt Christian a lot more than Kenny.
Yeah, and you could see, some blood starting to come out. And it's like, oh, God, please, no.
Yeah, because that table leg went right up through the table.
Yeah, the table leg
into his ribs,
inverted and went through it.
God.
Yeah. Going in there, get back in the ring. Christian hits 2 more spears, and a little bit controversial, but I think he's thrown them out a little bit better than Edge's.
Ooh, I think I'd agree with you.
It looks so much more brutal
because I think Christian builds up to it more.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of times, nothing against Edge, because I love Edge. Sometimes it does just kind of look like he's doing a running hug.
No, Christian looks like he's shotgunning people.
Yeah, there's a lot more momentum, I feel, into it.
Part of that might be that Kenny's just really good at selling.
Yeah,
but very effective.
Kenny tries to go for the Dr. Wily bomb, can't do it because of his back. Interference from the Good Brothers to no avail though, because Christian is able to outsmart them and throw Kenny into Luke. And
I do love the mini arc of the Elite trying to interfere in these Christian matches and then just constantly messing each other up.
Yeah,
it's been very fun.
It shows how much smarter Christian is. He's able to again outwork them.
Yep.
Hits the kill switch or the Unprettier, whatever one you feel like calling it. Kenny kicks out. Christian tries to do it off the top rope. However, Kenny finagles his way out of there. And you can see all of the crowd start to stand up. This was my
absolute favorite thing in the match. Is that entire crowd stands up in time with them standing up on that top rope.
Because it's builds to the finish, and what a perfect build to the finish with the crowd getting so invested in it. Because Christian has had he's gone for a while because of some health issues, and it's like no way he's gonna take that. And my God, he took a middle rope, one-winged angel, and that's the match, and that looked brutal and. Wow, I thought that match was great.
Yeah.
I think my only gripe so far with how Christian has been handled is that Christian is doing the thing that Darby often does, of he spends 75% of matches getting beat up. And I think that works better for Darby than it does for Christian.
Yeah.
And I do think I don't think it was a huge issue in this match, but I think it meant that Christian had less heat going into this match because his last few have been like a lot of Christian getting beat up, followed by a couple of essentially hot tags with himself. Yeah. That I think he could do with having a match that shows him off a little bit more strongly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought this match was great. I don't think it's going to be like a 5-star match or anything necessarily, but I do think they did a really good job of showing who was getting hurt, who had like, especially with Kenny in his back during the match, failing with the Dr. Wiley bomb. Christian with the table spots was brutal. Those were both, I think, super impressive. Yeah, this match did what it needed to. Absolutely.
Any other thoughts from you, Brett or Max?
I know you and I talked about this many times, Ryan. We were like, I don't know what is CM Punk gonna be the main event, or is Christian versus Kenny gonna be the main event? Because like a couple weeks ago, like if a time traveler came back and was like, yeah, Christian versus Kenny is gonna be the main event at All Out, it was like, oh really? I don't know, because that's weird. Like Christian's good, and I like him, but I don't know if he's like main event with Kenny Omega quality. And I think the episodes of Dynamite and Rampage leading up to All Out did a really good job of making like the fact that he should even be like in a main event like really convincing. And it paid off because it turned out to be
I do think
true.
With you talking about this, Brett, there were a lot of people that thought Kenny should never have dropped that belt to Christian. And I think by the time this happened, that mindset had completely flipped of like that was the right call of having Christian get that title off of Kenny. Because now you've still got some build up for Christian going into that match, and then you also still you can still protect the one-winged angel as that move that probably Hangman or someone is going to either avoid or kick out of. So
yeah. No, I completely agree.
Any other thoughts,
Hangman.
Max or Brett?
Max can go. I've been blabbing.
To be honest, I don't have much else to contribute. I think I don't know. This match was pretty straightforward for me, and everything you guys have said already has kind of covered my takes. I don't have anything new.
Well, then you'll probably agree with me when I say that I think when it finally comes that it is Hangman versus Kenny, I think much like I forget if it was you, Max, or Ryan that was either in tears or almost in tears at the one tag match that was Kenny and Hangman versus the Bucks that went on for like over half an hour at like, was it Revolution or Full Gear?
Revolution.
Yeah, it was Revolution.
Like that like it's I have a feeling that when it finally gets to be Hangman versus Kenny, that is probably going to be, and it probably has to be like the greatest match, like storytelling, emotion, even like spot wise in singles at least, that AEW will ever like have to pull off. Like that is going to be mind blowing. That's going to be a movie. That is going to be a feature film event.
I can't wait for that. But what I am curious to get you guys' opinions on before we go into the final promos of this pay-per-view is how you felt about the order of matches here, specifically like the main event being Kenny and Christian. I know there were a lot of people going that CM Punk will be the main event or the Lucha Brothers thing would be the main event.
You know what? At first, I was like, again, thinking CM Punk maybe should have main evented, but with what happened afterwards, it makes sense why Kenny Omega main evented.
They wanted the Elite on the stage at the end.
Yeah.
And I do think this almost worked as like a less chaotic title match, but in a way it was kind of a wind down for the announcements that were going to happen afterwards.
Yeah.
Of like the real main event here is what happens after the main event. And I think everyone going into All Out knew that. So yeah, all right. Without further ado, let's talk about our big two announcements. We get Kenny cutting a great promo about how no one in the world, unless they're either not here, retired, or specifically dead, because if you remember, 4 years ago on Being the Elite, Adam Cole was murdered by Kenny with a poisoned Monster Energy.
Yep.
And written out of Being the Elite because he was going to WWE. And then on the Being the Elite that released right after All Out, they show them doing a seance to resummon Adam Cole. And then Adam Cole appears during that promo, comes out, and in my favorite moment of the night, kicks Jungle Boy.
Yeah.
And rejoins the Elite.
Because that's the thing is, like, I think like a lot of people were originally I don't think anyone was expecting Adam Cole to also be there, because you could obviously tell from the crowd. You can tell from the crowd that they're expecting Bryan Danielson.
I think maybe the sunrise that Britt did tipped people off that he was coming, but I don't think anyone thought it would be that day.
Soon.
Yeah. Because at this point, like, I'd say Suzuki counts as like someone joining, especially now that he's going to be there for like a little bit, and he's like huge, and also Ruby Soho is here now, so that's like that. I would count that as two people that, like, okay, those are
really
two
really cool.
Yeah,
debuts.
Yep. So and that's the thing is, like, looking back on it again, it's like it should have been obvious, because when Adam Cole came out, he came out of the heel tunnel. He didn't come out of the face tunnel.
Yep.
So
and what I love is the new music they have for Adam Cole. It's all about that boom. Such a perfect Adam Cole theme song. Because I think people knew who it was as soon as those first few notes played, even before he was out. And like the AC came on screen, just because it sounds like an Adam Cole theme song.
It sounded like his previous song. Yeah.
Felt very shock the system me. Yeah, I absolutely loved it. Adam Cole's one of my favorite people that have been going back and watching like 2017 to 2021 NXT. He is phenomenal, and really excited to see him in AEW, because I think he'll get to do a lot more. Especially considering he just had a complete fire run through of NXT and kind of got to do everything. So felt like a good time for him to move on.
And then, talks about there's no one better than the Elite. Kenny Omega says we got to send the crowd home happy. Without further ado, goodbye and good night. But that gets interrupted. And none other than Bryan Danielson comes out to interrupt them.
To a remix of Ride of the Valkyries, or Flight of the Valkyries. Pretty great.
Trap remix.
Not the theme song people expected, but I think one that worked very well for what they were going for.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, listening to the song outside of... And they did it again on Dynamite. There's a vocal version of the song. They're not using it for some reason. Maybe because like it's with the timing of the entrance and everything. But I also heard from the guy that's like not finished yet, too. So maybe that's why. But I really like how they baked in the "you're gonna get your head kicked in." I thought that was so cool, because that's what everyone used to chant during Bryan Danielson's matches on Ring of Honor and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way to try to introduce that back, and people are still gonna do.
And I love Bryan Danielson they have that little fight with the Elite as soon as he gets there, joins with Christian and Jungle Boy, and they start fighting each other, and then he has the wonderful like kick into a like Spider-Man pose almost.
Yeah.
Which I think looked really smooth. You can tell Danielson is a person who he's not been away from wrestling the way the CM Punk has.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting he's gonna pull out some crazy stuff in his first match, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm so excited. But
so
there's like literally I would have screamed for Adam Cole, and I screamed even harder for Bryan Danielson, and I was like, wow, what a perfect way.
Especially because they were like a minute apart.
Yeah.
It's great.
Just, what a way to end a pay-per-view. It was like incredible.
And yeah, I think that's kind of the prevailing opinion of this. Is this pay-per-view had, I think, one really incredible match, which was the Lucha Bros and Young Bucks, is like probably match of the year, and I don't know how they're gonna top that anywhere. But really, really good match. The rest of them were serviceable in pay-per-view terms of like good matches that are definitely worth your money, but they're not. None of them are those 5-star contenders, aside from like, I don't know, maybe you give CM Punk just because of the narrative. Christian and Kenny put on a great match, but it's relatively standard.
Yeah. It was just a consistent show overall.
Yeah.
But what happened during this show is the big important thing. Of like, this is a huge roster of people that have just showed up. Of like Ruby Soho, Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, Suzuki. Even though he's not all elite, he's just showing up for a bit. Huge names that are probably pulling a lot of people in. And I think like Adam Cole especially has that NXT crowd of people that really liked NXT and are getting NXT now changing. I think like a large portion of those people have jettisoned ship to AEW now that we've seen like Dynamite beat Raw in ratings this week.
Yep.
So at least not in ratings, but in the key demo, which is very interesting. Yeah, I think a lot of these guys are huge draws. And I cannot wait to see what Ruby, Cole, and Danielson are going to be doing.
Yep.
I think it's also important to mention Danielson main evented WrestleMania this year. Like
he did. He main evented WrestleMania, and that's the thing is like he said he loved working for WWE and he loved everything he did there, but he still left. So that really puts over how how much he wants to be in AEW, which is incredible. I can't wait to see.
Because he's talked a lot about how he just kind of wants the wrestling environment to be better. Yeah. And that competition is just kind of better for everyone. Which, I'm very interested in this. I'm also interested to see if Brett and I were talking before this about how Dynamite and Rampage don't feel like enough anymore.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if Rampage might get a second hour at some point.
It needs it. It desperately needs it.
Yeah, they have, especially, I think they need to fit more women's matches in.
Yes.
Yeah. Which means reducing the number of men's matches, but they just pulled in 2 new guys that need to be getting over.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think they're put themselves in a spot that is really good to be in, but I think especially with that we've seen these like TNT and Warner Media business things that are saying how good Dynamite is doing and Rampage are doing, that they might try to extend Rampage and maybe get a better time slot for it, because right now it is very late. But that does mean it would be like directly competing with SmackDown. So I wonder if that's something they're going to try to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very packed show.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts about All Out 2021?
I think in terms, like, because I really find the story implications and like the things that they managed to do like mid-match without like just straight up saying something into a microphone or something really interesting. And in terms of that, like this was easily the best they've ever done, and in just one solid package. Like they've had so many interesting things with like including like refs as characters and like making important things happen with that, and like the cool parallels with the Bret Hart and the Punk matches, and how like some of those shots are like, even the camera work is pretty much exactly the same, and that probably took a ton of effort to pull off. Like that
especially
sort of
this
stuff.
Is live. It's not a pre-taped show.
Yeah, exactly. But like again, the stuff with the refs and that sort of thing. I hope they really get that people liked that stuff and found it super satisfying to be like kind of misled and twisted around, and that they just keep doing more of that stuff, because man, that it was just so cool to just like, because I totally bought that the Jericho thing also, because I just got sucked in. But it's fun. It's so much
That's
fun
what you
when it's
want,
just not
right?
Exactly. It's fun when it's
people
not
talk
the same
about being
thing
a
every
mark
time.
as if it's a negative thing, and I'm like, that's the point.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
But yeah, great show. Max, any thoughts about All Out?
I enjoyed it very much. I think this is possibly one of my top 3 favorite pay-per-views of all time to ever happen.
Damn.
Wow.
I know I'm not nearly as knowledgeable as Mr. Ryan here in the ways of wrestling, but I have seen my fair share of pay-per-views. I was born and raised on Royal Rumbles on YouTube and other old pay-per-views from WCW and ECW. And I've seen a lot, but this really hit hard. There were so many screaming moments, and everything just got topped by yet another thing. The punches kept rolling, and it was a really feel good night.
Yeah.
I just loved every bit of it. And something I didn't mention before was with the Jericho match. Jericho is also pretty much my dad, probably. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but I legitimately thought that he was done for, retired. I didn't think they were going to restart the match. So when that was over, my heart sank. And as much as I have been championing my reactions through the night of elation, that one of just being outright miserable was pretty big too. Even though I didn't vocalize it as much, it was just as strong as the other ones. So the scope of how AEW is affecting me as a fan is pretty big right now, and I respect that a lot. That a company is able to do that.
Mhm.
To a 22-year-old man who knows better than to think that it's all real.
But I mean, yeah, that's the fun of it. Is they're doing such a great job of making you believe in this stuff. Like it's the TV show comparison to how wrestling doesn't need to be real to have those emotional reactions that are real, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I that's what I love about it. And something I got to give major props to this show for is this is a pay-per-view that has almost no gimmicks in it. Like even the battle royale, it's not like a ladder match. It's not anything crazy.
Yeah.
Almost all these matches are just straight regular matches that are really good.
Mm-hmm.
And just a proper showcase of wrestling. And as much as I love gimmick matches, like give me a tables match at any time, but this was a great showcase of just proper wrestling.
Yeah.
Which I think sometimes works really well. They had a really great night. So I'm excited to see what Full Gear has in store coming in November.
Gonna be insane.
Because I don't think they're gonna try to top this storyline wise, because it feels like that's a futile effort, right?
Yeah.
It's not gonna work. But I would love to see them kind of reel back and maybe make some more, throw some of the gimmick matches into Full Gear to have people just get really excited for it.
Yeah.
Give me some crazy stuff. Yeah, great night. They've been doing a great job as well. We're recording this the Friday after the pay-per-view, so we've seen the Dynamite afterwards, and doing a great job of extending those stories into Dynamite so that we're not losing heat on anyone, which is great. All right. With that, I think we will go ahead and end our first WrestleCast episode. As always, we like to do shoutouts at the end of every Gamescast episode. This is a WrestleCast episode, though, so what I want to get from everyone is your moment of the night. So, Brett, what was your moment of the night?
Just because I know other people are going to say other things, I think I really am going to double down on Orange Cassidy cheering Chris Statlander on, because I don't know, I just like Chris Statlander so much, and everyone in my family is a really big Orange Cassidy fan. So just seeing that like character development and just one simple thing really got me. I was super happy with that.
All right, Ryan.
Gotta say, it's been a long time coming. Seeing CM Punk wrestle again, it was definitely my moment of the night, and just seeing that he still got it, I'm really excited to see all the future stuff that he's going to be doing, and whether that be a heel or a face, I think it's going to only be good for the rest of the roster and for AEW.
All right, Max.
100% for me, it's Ruby. Just seeing how happy she was walking out during her debut entrance, that was so satisfying to see. I know she was previously dissatisfied with the work she was doing, and to see that she got the reception she wanted and got the win to cap off the night must have been so great for her, and I'm feeling really happy and proud for her.
Yeah. I got to give mine to that moment where they take the shoe out of the bag in that Lucha Brothers and Young Bucks match. My heart just sank. So that was like huge of them just showing that off and just seeing, oh no, exactly what we were trying to prevent happened in this match, and then still overcoming it was great. All right. With that, we will see you whenever we next do one of these, which I'm sure will happen whenever there's some big AEW stuff.
Yep.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We just got to jam to the outro music for like 20 seconds, all right? Just jam in your seats.
Usually we have Alex Belli just say something absolutely rancid at the very end. But